Hey everybody, welcome to another video review. So I've been on sort of a Master Replicas Star Wars collecting kick and really having a lot of fun getting some really cool hilts, as they call them. And so this is going to be another lightsaber review. You can tell already by what I'm holding here that this is going to be my first Master Replicas Elite Edition lightsaber review. They only made 3 of them. Now, why they did that is, hard to answer. But first of all, let's just talk about what is an Elite Edition. So an Elite Edition are special versions of Master Replicas lightsabers that's typically made available only to the Collector Society members first. So if you're a member of the Collector Society, then you get first opportunity to order them. Back in the day, this was actually a pretty highly desirable thing. People were staying up, pretty late to get them. There was the usual controversy over, scalping and people buying more than one and products selling out very quickly. So there's all of that business going on. But in essence, number one, the Elite Edition was very limited because you had to be a Collector Society member to, get first dibs to do it. Second, they tend to be made of much higher quality than the regular Master Replicas lightsabers, which is saying a lot because even your normal non-elite versions, from the limited editions to the special editions, their quality was, pretty darn good. Remember, there was, still a lot of accents coated in brass. They were using, 10 karat or 14 karat gold plating, for instance, for the limited edition Mace Windu. For Dooku, both limited edition and signature edition, that lightsaber was chrome plated. So it's not like the regular Masters replicas, pieces were taking shortcuts. They were pretty darn good quality anyways. But the Elite Edition, as the name would suggest, kind of went a step further. Instead of aluminum, they would be using stainless steel. They would use, in general, 18 karat gold for the plating. They would use, just a real crystal for certain, parts. So everything was just a little bit better quality, to last a little bit longer, make it a little more special. And so what lightsaber Elite Edition am I going to review? There's only 3 of them. They are all very sought after, very, very rare. There is the Phantom Menace, Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Elite Edition lightsaber. Then there's the Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, Luke Skywalker, Elite Edition. And then there's the Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, Luke Skywalker, Elite Edition clean version, not the version 2, but the version 1. So those are the 3. And tonight, I'm going to be reviewing the Phantom Menace Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber, limited edition of 1,250. So let's start by just taking a look at the box. It's pretty classy. I'm going to move it back and forth. It's right next to the camera. So you can see here, this is the typical sleeve that Master Replicas ships all of their hilt boxes in. Well, not all of them. They sort of fell off a cliff near the end of their run there, but at least in the beginning and the middle, all the lightsabers will be protected in their own custom box. And you can see the logo and then Elite Edition. This is actually the sleeve, and if you take the sleeve off, you actually have the box itself. You can see the Elite Edition is stamped on the box as well. Now, one interesting thing, just to show you, is that in older versions, the box would be actually hinged back here. And then when you open them, you would actually, flip the lid off. And this created a couple of interesting, I guess, I want to say problems, but issues. Normally then, that means that at the back, right on over here, you would of course have to have the hinges, right? And if you have the hinges inset here and here, so that it would, the lid would flip back, it would make it a little bit tricky to actually get the sleeve over. You would have to kind of, fiddle with the sleeve so that the sleeve can go over the hinges, because the hinges would make this dimple. It would jut out, and then you can actually see the dimple on the sleeve as well if it's been on there on some of the older versions. So perhaps because for that reason, Master Replicas, when they made this elite version, they decided not to have the sleeve. So instead, it's just a simple box, and then you just open the top off like so. You put that aside. You can see that inside is kind of very nice, nice foam, nice and soft. And you can see here, again, very, very nice and classy. You kind of get rid of some of this extra foam stuff. So you can see that this is where the lightsaber is kept. You can even see by the indentations, the orientation that you're supposed to put the hilt in. So, again, this is soft foam, not the hard white styrofoam that you see in statue packaging and some of the later Master Replicas packaging. Very nice and soft and classy. So again, this is what the hilt comes in, is in this box. And of course, when you have that, it makes putting the sleeve or the slipcase on a breeze. So that's very, very nice. We'll set this aside. So next up is the actual lightsaber. Before doing that, let's take a look at the paperwork. So you can tell that this is a later version of, or later release from the Master Replicas line, because the older releases, the envelope is not black, but instead like an off-color white. And instead of like, slipping the envelope closed, there's actually was a regular envelope, and it was sealed with a sticker. So you can definitely tell this is, a little bit later on. If you open it up, you can see that it opens, kind of unfolds. And this is, again, very indicative of the later versions of, their paperwork. It comes with a, microfiber wiping cloth, which has obviously never been used. And then the generic limited edition, limited warranty paper right here. And then the most important thing, of course, is this piece of paper, the certificate of authenticity. I've always loved Master Replicas certificates of authenticity, black with gold lettering on it, very classy. So you can see here, it says Star Wars Elite Edition, official prop replicas. And then we're gonna open it. I will slowly scroll so you can have your chance to read it. On this side, this is kind of a very generic certificate of authenticity. If you'll notice, they don't even really tell you, what number there is. I mean, I think it would have been a little bit nicer to just say, like, for instance, here, every replica is strictly limited to 1,250 produced and sold to enhance its value, etc. That would have made this part of the certificate at least a little bit more, a little bit more unique. I also sort of missed the fact that in the older versions of the lightsaber hilts, they would actually have the names and the signatures of Master Replicas and Lucasfilm, for instance, on there. So it was a little personal touch. So I don't know how to, quite feel about that. I mean, obviously, over the course of the 5 years that, MR had the Star Wars replica license, there were some issues. There must have been some problems. I mean, they made some of the best Star Wars replicas in history. They still are extremely sought after today. among Star Wars fans. As long as there's love for Star Wars, I think there always will be, because the tales are so timeless and the movies are, so timeless and so good. There'll always be people, with passion to kind of take a little bit of that, a little bit of their dreams home, so to speak. But even against that backdrop, Master Replicas made some of the best Star Wars props ever, and that hasn't changed in 20 years. But near the end, they must have had some money issues, but not have just a simple, nicer, like seal, and to have the signature. Like, why wouldn't you have that? You already have it for the other pieces, just basically, doing the same thing. It's a bit disappointing. Again, it's sad to say that as the replicas go down and it gets later and later from 2002, and as you get closer to 2007, I think this was made in 2005, you can see sort of, the changes, and the changes are rarely for the better. Okay, rarely for the better. And you'll see this in some of my other reviews. Right over here, you can actually slowly scroll and read about what this lightsaber is about. This is the Elite Edition of Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I think, by the way, this is there's only one other YouTube review out there. And I think this might be the only one where, again, I'm going to slowly take a look. So you'll have now plenty of opportunity to check out what it says. I don't know what they're talking about with the purple hemisphere exactly. Maybe we'll find out. But the other ones, are pretty self-evident. All right, this is it. So let's put all of this back into the envelope. I think they moved to this sort of semi-open version of the certificate, mainly to accommodate the inclusion of the black, wiping cloth with a black microfiber, since that would have been a little bit too much to put. So here we go. We'll put it aside. Oh, sorry about that. A little bit clumsy. Let's readjust. Okay. So let's see what we can do to kind of showcase this a little bit. I have to adjust this here. We're going to take this off so that the light can shine a little bit easier, and you don't see the reflection of me in my wife beater white t-shirt, so to speak. So yeah, this is it. I'm going to just start twirling it around while we talk a little bit about this. So 1,250 produced. That's very rare. Not as rare as some of the signature editions that only had 500, for instance. But it's definitely rare enough. A few things about this hilt. So the first thing is that this is one of the few lightsabers that Master Replicas made that does not have a limited edition version. Almost every other hilt will have like a limited edition version, so that you don't have to buy the more expensive one. So I'll just give you very basic examples. Like, for instance, the Elite Edition of Luke Skywalker's hilt from Star Wars A New Hope. There was 3 versions. There was a limited edition version, there was an elite version, and then there was an actual signature version, with Mark Hamill's signature. But this particular scenario is very, very rare. If you want Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber hilt from Phantom Menace when he was a Padawan, then you have to buy the Elite Edition. There is no other version of this out there. And Master Replicas would do this occasionally. The Mara Jade Signature Edition comes to mind. There was no limited edition version of that. That was, I think, literally the last lightsaber that they made before losing the license. A battle damaged Darth Maul hilt was also, did not have any other version, but that was a limited edition. There was no signature elite version of that. So there was no other way to get it. But the thing about those examples is that the Mara Jade, of course, hilt is of questionable, canonicity, if that's a word I like to make up. It's not really canon, right? This is an extended universe character. The design of that hilt was just completely from imagination, and they fabricated it. It was never really ever made, even for any movie of any kind. And the battle damaged Maul was also sort of a concept piece, never seen in the movie. So for a hilt like this from a major character to be made available only in Elite version is actually, I think, essentially unique. Essentially, that's the only scenario or the only situation where this occurred. So this hilt cost $549, so about $550. That was its release price, and that's basically about $50 more than even the signature versions, to give an idea of the relative price points. So that's how much it went for at the time. And if we think about it, that was the only way people could get a Obi-Wan Phantom 1 saber to complete their collections. Now, why did they do that? There's a lot of potential explanations. This was never completely addressed. My personal belief is that the main reason is that this was actually released, if you can believe it, after the Obi-Wan Kenobi hilt from Attack of the Clones was released. That was done first. And if you've taken the time to pause the video earlier and read the certificate of authenticity, you will understand that it was kind of difficult to get the material and the information to make an accurate Phantom Menace Obi-Wan prop. And it took the team at Master Replicas quite a while to actually get that done. They went ahead and did it because there was a lot of, obviously, fan demand for it. But at the time, they didn't think they were going to be able to do it. They weren't even going to do it. And when you compare the Obi-Wan hilt from Phantom Menace to Attack of the Clones, you'll see that the two sabers are very, very alike. There are minute differences, and maybe if someday I manage to get a hold of the Attack of the Clones hilt, we can do another video just really, comparing the two. That might be, neat. But there's just very minute differences that to a casual observer, or even to, a knowledgeable one, if you just to kind of visually inspect it, there wouldn't be many differences. The overall hilt is essentially almost identical, especially with the ribbing that you can see here, and you have the red knob and the gold knob down below. The Attack of the Clones one has that as well. Okay, everything is very similar, even down to the knob at the end of the hilt. And so, and I think they made they made 2,500 of the Attack of the Clones Obi-Wan. And so Kavero, that Master Replicas, realized, well, if we already have 2,500 of a hilt that's like 90% identical to the Attack of the Clone, to the Phantom Menace one, and the Attack of the Clones version is a limited edition, then why would we want to then, you know, split again for Phantom Menace? Like, it just simply isn't worth it for that 10% difference. I mean, I realize that, you know, there are many people who would, at this point in the game, respectfully disagree, but I can understand their decision to not do that and essentially just focus all of their attention on releasing the elite version of it. And to those who either couldn't afford it or didn't want it or just wanted any version, then, you know, the difference was so minute between the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones that if you wanted a cheaper version or if you wanted a limited edition, they just go ahead and buy the Attack of the Clones Obi-Wan. There's, of course, a much bigger difference between the Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan lightsaber and then, of course, the classic New Hope version, that those definitely had to be made. It had to be made, you know, in a limited edition in order to satisfy the fans. So here you go. You know, this is the limited edition version. It's absolutely beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful hilts, but all of the elite editions, by the way, are absolutely gorgeous if you see them in person, if you handle them in person. So before we even get into the hilt itself, number one, you know, the base, acrylic base itself, and you'll only be able to tell if you took everything off and you flipped it and looked at the bottom, but, you know, this is more of a high gloss mirror base, number one. And then number two, the acrylic is actually a little bit higher quality than the normal acrylic covers for the regular limited and signature editions. So it's like a high gloss acrylic case. So beginning with that, even that is, you know, better. In terms of general, I'm going to segue that into general price point. There's only one other YouTube video, to my knowledge, that kind of looks at the Obi-Wan Elite Edition lightsaber, and that's by Star Wars Replicas by Gabe, I think Gabriel Marquez. And that's a bit old, that's quite a few years old. And you know, he has one that's, you know, he bought it obviously, I think originally from Master Replicas. I can't remember whether he did that or bought it from another collector, but you know, his is the only other YouTube video about this particular piece to show you how rare it is. Mine will be the second. And his actually has the original packaging, the brown shipper, you know, everything. And I think he mentioned in one of the comments when, you know, he and I exchanged got into a little bit of a conversation in his signature edition New Hope Skywalker Luke video review or video showcase, that he had actually sold his Obi-Wan Elite Edition, which kind of surprised me. But, you know, he has sold it, and he revealed that he has sold it for in the neighborhood of about $4,000 about a year ago. So that's a pretty, you know, amazing price, actually. I think he got a little bit fortunate with that, but $4K. But to be fair, it had absolutely everything, right? Brown shipper, the whole 9 yards. If you look at some of the eBay auctions, they're on there for typically $3,000 to $3,500, and they were sold, although with best offer. So we don't know what the, you know, the true best offer is. My version was bought from a private collector in North Carolina, and you know, he listed it for $2,200 shipped, which is I think a very, very fair price. The difference here is that he has everything except the original you know, brown shipper and the original packaging. So I mean, is all of them, is the little styrofoam and the cardboard, brown cardboard, worth over $1,500? To some, yes, but I'm okay with passing on that. So I'm just really, really happy that this got here, and he absolutely packaged it amazingly. I mean, he packaged it better than MR could ever have done, in my opinion. And, you know, it came just beautifully done, very, very heavy cardboard box, tons of peanuts, styrofoam, tons of peanuts, bubble wrap, reinforcing all the right ways. It was just absolutely, you know, spectacular packaging. So, you know, props to him. Very, very happy that he took the time to do that. In terms of the overall condition You have the mirror base, the acrylic. Before I made this video review, I actually went over the whole thing, both the base and the acrylic cover with, this Brilliant Eyes, which is my go-to to polish acrylic and plastic. It's very, very good. And when you look at it, there's just a little tiny scratch here or there on the base. The mirror base, by the way, is not really glass, but it's acrylic. And again, it's kind of Master Replicas being a little bit cheap back in the day, or maybe just trying to be practical and not having glass like shatter during shipping. But it just basically scratches almost instantaneously. The dust particle itself will scratch it. And so you will see, a little bit of that, but I polished all that off. And of course the acrylic case I polished. And I would say that the mirror base and the acrylic display is easily like a 9 out of 10. For a replica that's essentially, 18 years old, this is about as good as it's gonna get for this, or unless you basically found one of these completely sealed in box, which, believe it or not, are out there. They're in the wild. It's possible to get them, but they're very, very, they're very, very rare to come across in that condition. So in any case, that's what I got. And then the hilt itself is, I would say, 10 out of 10, almost, is in essence, in my opinion, perfect condition. There wasn't really even all that much dust when I got it. It came, of course, in its case. And I didn't even have to really put any polish or anything like that. I just simply took a microfiber cloth and just gently wiped it. So in case there was any prints, those would be wiped off. So this is a beautifully well-maintained hilt. So a lot of credit goes to the seller. I did let him know I got it in safe and sound, and he kind of mentioned that it's been in the closet most of its lifetime for many, many years. So there you go. I don't put these in closets. I like to love them and talk about them, make YouTube videos about them, display them. It'll be proudly displayed. Maybe out of the sunlight and try to maintain as well as I can, but I will enjoy it. It won't be in a humidity or temperature controlled vault or anything like that. But there are some advantages to living in the desert. Let's just put it that way. So again, that's the preamble to how I got this. So there you have it. I'm going to spin it a little bit faster. So while I do that, you can just get a better idea of the way this looks from all different angles. Okay, so now that we're at that point, we're going to get a little bit closer, and then I'm going to actually take the acrylic cover off, like so. Then when we do that, sorry for the klutz show here. Every time I move, I hit it. I'm just going to move it a little bit. So we're going to take a look at the plaque. As with all plaques, it's affixed to the stand. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You can see the MR logo, Lucasfilm logo, the Elite Edition, and it's number 243 out of 1,250. Okay, so we can gently put it back over here, and then we're going to rotate a couple times so you can see it without the acrylic acting as a mirror or warping. So there you go. We'll get into more of the details later on when I actually take it off of the base. But again, stainless steel. You can see the red knob here and the knurling along the side, as well as the 18 karat gold plated knob right over here. I find it kind of interesting why, I'm going to talk out loud while I'm rotating this bad boy. I do kind of find it fascinating that Master Replicas only made 3 Elite Editions. Like, why did they do that? Because it feels like they were going to make it like a way bigger thing, the so-called extra luxurious version of these collectibles, more limited quantities, much higher materials, higher price tag, etc. Almost like a boutique version, right, of the hilt. I mean, they did it with the Luke 1, not 1, the Luke New Hope, episode 4, and the Luke version 1 from Return of the Jedi, which is understandable. Both of those lightsaber hilts are rightfully considered iconic pieces of Star Wars history and film history in general. I would argue that if you're going to make an elite version, maybe Empire, would have been more appropriate, but it's kind of hard also to argue against the very first Star Wars movie ever made, right? So I think it was a difficult decision, but I think, of course, I'm a big Empire Strikes Back fan, so I probably would have preferred an elite version of Empire versus, say, A New Hope. But then they never made an elite version of, for instance, Darth Vader, which is kind of a very interesting oversight. And the only other elite edition they made was of Obi-Wan Kenobi from The Phantom Menace, which is not really the sort of thing that you would expect, but there you have it. All right, so I think I've turned this bad boy around enough so that you can actually appreciate all of that wonderful detail. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put on the backdrop, so it's black. That will cut down a little bit of the light, unfortunately, but it will create another way of appreciating the hilt, because now you're not as distracted by the background. So I'm going to move this forward just a touch so it'll clear the back. So hopefully you can appreciate a little bit more of the stainless steel construction. Again, just sort of moving things around so you're going to get a chance to see all of this. I realize there's a lot of background noise from me just kind of talking out loud, and the main attraction is the hilt, so you get to see it in all its glory and all its detail. I'm sure that there'll be some people who will want to reference this for whatever personal reasons. They might be looking for something, so I'll try to show it in all its different versions. You can see that the legs are off center, which means that it's basically placed closer to this edge than the other edge. So it sort of is random, or it's up to you how you want to display it. Do you want to display it with the legs closer to you or the legs further away? I like to display it this way, and that's why I have my plaque facing this way, because I like to show the red and the gold-plated knobs here. And to me, at least, that's kind of the most important thing that I wanted to showcase. Whereas if you rotate here, you can see, the other knob right over here a little bit better, right there. Okay. So there you go. Turn it around. So it's kind of interesting, the progression of Obi's lightsaber hilts. This was the first one he made as a Padawan, and according to Star Wars lore, it's not unusual for a lot of Padawans, when they're constructing their lightsaber, to incorporate a little bit of the design of their master. Kind of a neat little thing, and also maybe to pay homage to their master, whether this is, deliberate or subconscious. You can argue, but that's why you can see here that in this design over here and what Obi-Wan did, this sort of, pays a little bit of homage and is reminiscent of Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber hilt and the ribbing that's seen in his hilt. And similarly, when you see Luke Skywalker's Return of the Jedi hilt, which he built after losing the Empire Strikes Back during the duel with Vader in Cloud City, you can see that Luke paid homage to his master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that there's definitely similarities between those two hilts, which will become evident once I do video reviews in the future on some of those. So that's a little bit of interesting, a little bit of lore to think about. So hopefully that was enough moving around so you get to actually see what's going on. So now we're going to actually check out the hilt up close. So we're going to lift it up just like that. Another interesting thing is that the way these legs are designed over here, there's really only one truly correct way of placing the hilt onto the base and be perfectly level. If you do it wrong, it'll start tilting one way or the other. And so it requires a little bit of trial and error, but inevitably you're going to be able to do that. So let's look at this. So the first thing that actually strikes you, I'm going to just kind of get some of this away so it doesn't get accidentally damaged. I can be a little bit klutzy, so let's just get this mirrored base out of harm's way. So we have all the attention on this hilt. So one of the things that's pretty remarkable is that you can't actually see on video, but it's the weight of this lightsaber. So I've held Count Dooku's and Mace Windu's, and those were previously very, the heaviest sabers. Surprisingly, the Vader versions, well, there's some heft, aren't anywhere near as heavy as the Vader, as the Windu and the Dooku. And I have to say that this elite version of Obi-Wan's lightsaber, this elite version is basically as heavy as that. I still think probably Dooku is the heaviest saber, but this thing comes pretty close because again, it's not aluminum, it's stainless steel, and a lot of it, and that creates a really, really heavy hilt. So the first thing is just the hilt, very, very beautiful. The second thing is, again, props to the person who sold it to me. It's in fantastic shape. There's no real scratches I can see. Maybe some tiny marks here or there, but really nothing to worry about. And hold on a second here. Just want to make sure we get to a point. Yeah, I'll get a one-time magnification. So you can see that it's so brilliant. You can actually, look at your reflection. So just magnificent condition. I literally just had to wipe it with a microfiber cloth, and that was it. I probably didn't even need to do that. So some distinctive elements. What makes this elite? Well, again, you can refresh your memory with the certificate of authenticity that I froze, that you can freeze. But essentially the construction, higher quality of materials, stainless steel. You can see here we'll go really close. You can see here the female, I guess, knurling on the red knob right over here. And then this is actually 18 karat gold plated right there. These little LEDs are actually real crystal, I believe. There's 3 of them, 1, 2, and 3. I don't know about this so-called purple half circle, whatever, unless it's this thing here that's in the actual 18 gold plated knob right there. You can quite easily tell this is 18 karat gold just because of the luster and the brilliance of it. It reminds you quite a bit of Mace Windu's gold plate. So again, when you have this is a little bit idealized. It's typically will be a little bit improper for a Padawan to have gold that's so like Electrum on his hilt, but whatever. Here's another knob over here as well. You can see it's affixed with a screw. Supposedly on the episode 1 Phantom Menace, this was from like a bicycle or something like that, bicycle thing. And then for Attack of the Clones, they had a custom chrome one. I think Attack of the Clones, these things here are completely chromed. So again, there are differences between, you know, the episode 1 and 2 Obi-Wan hilts, but they're very, very minor. This one might be a little bit longer, you know, a little bit heavier, etc. So again, you can kind of see the stainless steel, and then you can see the ribbed black to give contrast. I'm going to turn over here. So this is the emitter. So you can actually see it's a polish to a mirror shine. I can actually see my head behind my iPhone camera. So again, very, very beautiful. Didn't really require me to do anything but just a simple wipe with a microfiber. And then let's carefully show you the lettering on the side. So this says 2005 Master Replicas Inc. And then over here you can clearly see Elite Edition. So when they did the Elite Edition for the Return of the Jedi Luke, it was pretty cool. They actually, in addition to Elite Edition, they actually stamped your number as well. And again, I wish that they had done that for all of the, you know, for all of the Elite Editions. But there you go. You can see that with the knob, with these areas here, I think the Attack of the Clones, they don't have these holes. So you can definitely tell that this is an Elite version by the holes here, okay? So there you have it. There's a very, very little tiny imperfection over here, which can probably be polished off pretty easily. I may do that a little bit later on, but that's a very minute little tiny thing. Other than that, yeah, you know, very, 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 very good. This is the emitter right here. This is the knob. So you can see Elite Edition a little bit easier from here, and the lettering a little bit easier all the way from here. It's just handling it right here so you can see kind of how big the saber is in the hand. Again, some close-ups of the LEDs right over here and here and here. Okay. You see the screw right here. And again, this pommel is one of the most unique parts of this hilt design. So again, just sort of showing you all of this in its glory. And then a really nice emitter right here on this side. And then the knobs with a knurling over here. And the knurling over here, this is the 18 karat gold. I'm pretty sure that purple thing, what they call the half circle, is on this knob, not the red one, but in fact the gold one. It's all crystal, crystal, crystal. Over here. Really, really cool. All right, so by the way, if you wanted to take a look at the bottom of this base, you can see here that it's just you can see it's like a mirror. You can see that's basically way more reflective, way nicer than the standard base. So I'm gonna put this aside. And then I'm gonna put this over here. And I think typically we're gonna put that here, and then we'll just rotate it gently. until we stop right here so you can see how all of that works. You can see the gold, the red. We'll put the plaque here in the center. This is the third time that the klutz factory is gonna have to reach over to get the credit case, and I touch the camera. So we'll put that here again. And then it's really difficult because the black mixes the mirror, makes the acrylic a mirror, so it's hard to see. Pretty sure you don't want to see me in my undershirt. So this is how it'll be displayed. I'll turn it a couple more times so you can appreciate it. And that's it. This is the Master Replicas Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber hilt 1-to-1 from the Phantom Menace Elite Edition. 243 out of only 1,250 made, and you know, definitely one of the coolest and most sought after hilts in the entire line. I'm very, very happy to have been able to get it, and I hope that you learned a few things about this saber and that you were able to get a lot of close-ups of it to appreciate its beauty and its workmanship. And until next time, do take care.